I think it's from Loki, the show. Because they said something about, like, I can't remember
It's
what
too many late
character.
night watches. I
I know,
forget
yeah.
some things in the shows.
There's one character that says something about candy. Like, someone's like, "Don't you have candy at Asgard?" And he's like, "Yeah, grapes and nuts." And they're like, "He lived a
Oh
terrible
yes,
life." I can't remember who says it. It must be Mobius. That's what I bet
must
it
be.
is. It's probably Mobius. But yeah, well, welcome to the Loki season 1 review. We're reviewing every episode again, but as a whole sitting. But no, I imagine, because I imagine Shay hasn't watched, so I bet you'll rewatch it at some point, eh?
No, she has. We watched the finale together. I was very impressed because she had got home from work.
She watched every
And
episode, though, right?
yep, yeah, of course. Come on. Now.
I'm impressed. She watched the finale.
Maybe it was like Falcon. She did that where she just watched the finale because she just happened to be
Yeah.
up. But no, I was impressed because she was sleeping and she's like, "Make sure to wake me up at midnight." And I did so, and she managed to stay awake. So yeah, she really loved the show.
Oh yeah, Swiffering the Nation. It's
And then
huge,
it got us. I told her we had to start watching Falcon because we watched Black Widow, and then she was super confused at that one. And then we started watching WandaVision, and she was hesitant to watch it. And I'm like, no, we got to do it again. And man,
Just
those
'cause,
early
like,
episodes are just
the
gold. I
sitcom
love
thing? Oh yeah.
sitcom. Oh, like I'm still laughing at all the humor. Like it's still so good.
Is that why she was worried? Because the sitcom
I
is?
don't know. I don't know why she was worried. She's just like, no, I'd rather not. Want to watch Schitt's Creek. So.
Schitt's Creek. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a GeekVerse review. My name, I don't got anything clever, Travis Snell.
I am Sister Kirklin.
There you go.
I think that's what they are. The sisters.
Yeah, you might not be able to guess by our nicknames
Other
at
half
all.
of the Pew Boys, I should have
The
said.
Pew Boys, yeah, I just said the Pew Boys. That's the go-to now. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a review for Gunpowder Milkshake. Like I said, the reviews probably, or the names wouldn't make you think about that, but you know the title, and that's a good thing. So, this is a movie that just dropped on Netflix July 14th. We talked about a few weeks ago as far as being very anticipated, but as of right now, what we're going to do is we'll do a non-spoilers, ad break, and then get into spoilers. So the same old routine, everything like that. If you like this review, check out the feed right now because we have a review for every single episode of Loki. Thank you very much for tuning in that finale review. You guys have made that our biggest day. It's been funny because so the first day, or what was it? Few months ago in March, our biggest day originally was that day when we released the Snyder Cut review and Falcon Winter Soldier the same time. Remember, because they were like back to back. So it was that, but then the Loki review of episode 1 topped it, and now the finale. So it's kind of like I said, a full circle that the first episode gave us a biggest day, and now the finale did. So a big thank you. You guys have been listening to that like monsters. The stats just been through the roof. So a big thank you for all the past few months. But that's just always great to see. I'm maybe it's just a knock on wood. I keep saying right. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen in August. Every month, other than this month, I'm like, hey, we're not going to break the record again. I don't think so. What If is coming out. We'll see how Don't Blind. Oh, Don't Blind.
Don't Blind 2, the sequel.
Don't Blind 2. It's funny. I got a lot of sleep today, but I didn't feel like that. But anyway, so Loki, Black Widow, we also reviewed. You can check out the last two things of Fear Street. I'm on a fucking roll. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Fear Street part 1 and 2. I reviewed that. I'll be reviewing part 3 this weekend. At some point next week, we'll be reviewing Space Jam, so look out for that. And then next week, there should be some assimilation of Snake Eyes and lots of movies coming out that we are reviewing. I don't know if I'm going to review American Horror Stories. I really want to. There's just so much content. It's just like I was worried about this because COVID, everything got delayed. Now everything's just boom, 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 because it's just like that came on my timeline. I just laughed. I was like, man, I was so excited for this. I might not even get to watch it for like a whole week. And there's so much stuff. You could also check out soon. I'm going to be recording the very first episode of the Dexter retrospective. I'm on the finale right now for season 1. So me and Emily are getting through that. So yeah, that's going to be fun. It's going to be myself solo cast trekking through it, and it's going to be a good time. I've had watching it again. I just remembered, man, this show was so good. It was so good. And I'm excited to talk about it in long form because I haven't done that in a while. So what else out there? We do newscasts every week. You got a whole bunch of stuff, but just check out our Twitter and Facebook. That's where you get updated. If you really, really like what we do, head over to Patreon. You get all those episodes ad-free. You get exclusive episodes. You get early episodes. You also get access to After 9, which we'll be recording in 3 days going live. That's the Patreon call-in show. So if you join phase 2, you can call in. And I'm excited to talk to everybody about Loki and Widow and everything like that. I'm especially Carl, because Carl said he was enjoying Loki. So I want to see if that finale changed around or if not. So If you want to be part of the conversation, do that. If you can't do that, that's completely fine. Just head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star written review. Written reviews are the ones that legitimately help us chart and new people see us and all that good stuff. Check out the podcast network that we run, Geek Ultimate Alliance, 7 days a week, 9 shows. I'm very excited because Marvel Alliance just recorded their review for Loki finale, so I'm excited to listen to that tomorrow. I think that's everything. Check out our podcast feed. We have the GeekVerse main one that has everything, but we have reviews, news, retrospective, just a bunch of stuff popping off. So, Kirklin, is there anything I forgot? I imagine you're not doing a stream this weekend because we're doing After 9 on a Sunday, correct?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, busy times. Lots of movies to watch.
Yes.
Got ready for a lot of reviews. So
plus, like, we did 4 hours of Sea of Thieves last week. I feel like that's go back and check that out. That's
we should release that in parts.
We should have part one. Yeah.
It was long. The fishing time.
Again, like I said about that game, I hated a lot of times playing it, but sometimes I just think like I'd like to get back in there and fish and build that boat and everything like that.
The first time I played, all we did was just like go out on the seas and just like randomly found a treasure spot, like got killed by the Kraken, just doing fun stuff like that. But when you're trying to follow some puzzles and we all got separated, that's where you can get a little bang in your head against the wall.
So you can check that out. Like I said, this description has everything we do. So Kirklin Patzer, I'm going to start with you because we had talked a few weeks ago. Clay had asked what our most anticipated movie of the summer was. I don't know what Taylor said. He probably just said I don't know, Space Jam, the director's cut. But myself, I said Reminiscence. But for you had listed this one. So what do you think of this movie?
One thing before I go, I feel like Taylor's most anticipated movie is something that we completely just like forgot about. It's some like super unknown movie that no one's really talking about, and for some reason he loves it. But anyways, Gunpowder Milkshake. Yes, I remember. I think you were describing the movie to me, and probably watched the trailer for a newscast or something. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you were describing it, I'm like, this just sounds awesome. And then I saw the trailer and I'm like, okay, yes, like this is totally a movie for me. The cast is just phenomenal, with just like super powerful female leads, and it just looked like a fun movie. Nothing too like I'm not looking for like an Uncut Gems story or anything like that, but like just a fun movie.
Gems,
I haven't seen Uncut Gems, but I know what it's about.
He just throws it. Which, by the way, is getting a Criterion. It's getting a Criterion edition, so make sure you get that.
That's why it was in my head. I saw that today. But yeah, it just looked like a movie for me, and I was super excited for it, and honestly, I was very, very happy with it. That was a journey. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I feel like as soon as it started, I kind of got like just a feel of what it was going to be. I feel like it kind of knew what it was wanting to do, and I thought it did well in that regard. Like nothing crazy dialogue wise, like no like amazing like I don't know like monologues for me personally that like were memorable. It was more of just like it reminded me of something like Kill Bill, where it's just like fun action with like beautiful scenery. Like the cinematography I thought was really, really good. I thought the score was really good too. I quite liked a lot of like just the music that they had in the show, and overall it was a fun movie to follow like Karen Gillan with. I loved her in Jumanji. I've really grown to Jumanji. I'm like you. We had no sleep, and then I like caught up on sleep, but I feel like I'm still like
too much
jet lagged or something. I really grew to love the character of Nebula, and so ever since then, Karen Gillan was on my list and our list of actors to follow, actresses, and I was really impressed with her. I thought she just like fit the role of just like a badass John Wick type character that was just kicking ass, and it was really fun. I really like this movie. I definitely don't think it's for everyone. Like, I mean, like you and I did the Tarantino retro before. You know how much I love Kill Bill, and this is just like checking those boxes. So obviously this was a movie that checks my boxes for what I like in a movie, and I don't think everyone will, but if you're just looking for a fun time, it's on Netflix, so I feel like it's such an easy like recommend. I feel like 90% of people have access to Netflix, so yeah,
90%. You're sticking by that stat. 90% of 7 billion people in the world.
Everyone that I've never met, they don't exist, so therefore they don't enter my stats.
So I like the movie, but I was worried you're gonna be so paused on it because I'm not gonna be tearing it down. But the best way I could describe it is, like you said, it reminded me of a lot of stuff. But I guess what ended up happening is it didn't stand out on its own too much for me. I do like the movie; I enjoyed it enough, but I don't think I'd be watching it again. Like it didn't stand out that much. I think that this might be like a brutal way to describe, but I don't mean it to. I think it's, if you've ever been on a good date and a bad date, you'll understand this analogy where a good date, the conversation is flowing, there's no worries, you're just talking, the chemistry's there, and you talk boom, boom, boom. And then there's those dates, the bad ones, where you go, oh, like you're trying to figure out stuff to talk, like, oh, how long have you been working here? Do you live in Kelowna? What's the weather like? And you just feel like you're trying to like make it go. And that's why I felt like this. And I think for me, that's where sometimes it's tough because everything's subjective, but humor is really subjective. And I think a lot of that didn't work for me. And there's like a lot of jokes in here, and it didn't work in a way where I thought they were bad jokes. I wasn't laughing. So that's where it felt like that when I was describing that conversation. Like I was trying, like I really wanted it to work. All these pieces were here, but it just didn't fully work for me as far as like as great as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
The acting, there's no problem there. I think for non-spoilers, I'm trying to think as far as the way to phrase, I think they maybe, because I think they had already said that at least people reported they're talking about doing a sequel to this. And I think the last 15 minutes felt a little too sequel baity for me. And I know someone might be like, oh, well, you like the MCU. The MCU is just a preview for the next movie. There is, but if you look at that first phase, you got like Iron Man, Thor, those are pretty standalone. I think that was one of the things with me. The ending was, it felt too much like, okay, we definitely are getting a little more. It didn't wrap it up in a as nice as a bow I would have. I'll explain in spoilers, but there's some really fun action set pieces here. I won't say anything, but it'd be the second last action set piece, which was phenomenal. That was, to me, was like the strength of the movie. That's when the jokes were actually hitting for me. The action was working and stuff. So I think the movie probably also could have ended there. It kind of, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I know what you're talking about. I know.
Yeah. So maybe that's it, even for an hour 50, because like, it's funny because we get like the hour, which the first hour, because I paused and I had dinner, came back to it. The first hour is very much just like setup. And then there was another hour. So I'm like, okay, we got another hour here. Let's see what's going to happen. But then it had, I can't remember what movie we reviewed recently. I feel like we just talked about a movie where it was like, it felt like the ending a few times.
Tomorrow War, you guys.
That's the one I
didn't even watch it, but I knew you guys were talking about it.
Yes, that's the one where it's like, okay, this could have ended 40 minutes ago. I don't think I'm that harsh on this. I think it's just like 15 minutes, but still, and it didn't have that Lord of the Rings thing where people say like had the fake out ending. But I liked it. I think the other thing I liked the song choices. I wish I got a few more. There's a few times where I just want a few more songs, but for the most part, they were good. The cast was good. Action was good. I think the story is, you've seen this done a bunch of times, and I think that the only thing that's new to it is if you like this combination of actors is good. And I think that's where, when you compare it to Kill Bill, I think that's what's missing, is the dialogue was never too clever, and I think that's what it just needed a little extra oomph. Maybe that's for me, like the comedy part of it too, but as far as the dialogue, like I want it to be similar to like so there's these characters called the Boneheads, right? And that's not a big spoiler, but like sometimes I think the movie, like, it couldn't decide if it was in a real world with some comedic beats or it was really over the top, because there's one scene with these characters which was so over the top that I was like, I think if you're in this, you're in it. But for me, I just, again, with the humor, I wasn't in it. So I think if we're in this really cartoonish world, I wish that some of the dialogue was a bit better, but I still enjoyed it. I think it's just that maybe it's one of those, when you see the cast and you see all the pieces, you go, oh, this could be a top 10er. It's not a top 10er for me as of right now. No, it wouldn't break the top 10 because I'm thinking about my movies. But and then when I looked at the director, I'm like, hey, he hasn't done much and stuff like that. So I liked it, but unfortunately it sounds like love it like you did. So
yeah, like all your points, I can't not agree with you, because it does make sense. Like I feel like it just reminds me so much of Kill Bill, and it reminds me of parts of that movie that I just love so much. But like you said, like a lot of the dialogue just isn't at that level. So it is like I don't want to say like a copy of it, but it's like a tribute type thing to it, where it's taking inspiration from that type of thing. Because like a lot of this movie, it reminded me of just like an anime or something, where it's just so over the top and so crazy. But like, again, like the dialogue was just so okay, like they just had to put in some filler words here in between ass kicking.
And I wonder if that's why you do it. That's why you go get talent. But sometimes I think about like Kill Bill and I go, okay, if you were to take that movie and get all the stars out of there and just had all unknowns, I think it would still be a great movie. Where this one, I think, does rely pretty heavily on the
Yeah, that's
cast.
a really good point.
Which is what you do. Like that's many times you do that. If you get something that is a little weaker or just something in general, okay, let's load it up. And I feel like that's kind of this where there is some set pieces. There's one good set piece in a hospital too, which was really fun. So again, I have some positive stuff to shout out in spoilers, but I just think if it wasn't, Angela Bassett, Lena Headey, Carlo, whoever, I can never say her fucking name, it's like Juini or Joanna, whatever, and then Karen Gillan, who I liked her in this movie, but I wanted again, I think just a little more character, because it's funny, the first hour is set up, but the I don't know, point of interest like flips really quick. The first 15 minutes I was really into, and I guess I'll stop talking because I don't want to get too specific, but the first 15 minutes I really like the setup, but once we get to like the inciting incident, it happens really quick, and I wish I got a little more with her. I still liked her in it, but
like with our protagonist, her name's Sam, Karen Gillan's character, I felt like it reminded me of like early Nebula, how like she was pretty much just like almost like just like a robotic killer, because like that's essentially, I guess shouldn't go too deep into her character or what she is in the spoiler free section, but overall she just reminded me of something like that, whereas I'm tiptoeing around too much. Let's just get into spoilers unless you have anything else to add.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, so you clearly would recommend it, right? Based on your kind of qualifications there.
I would selectively recommend it. Like my like people that I know that would like just like an action, like it's not like an Oscar type movie where like those types of movies can be like, it's only for a select audience. I feel like an average moviegoer that likes to watch Cars or something, like you wouldn't recommend something like that to them.
Yeah.
I would recommend this to I don't even. I'm having a hard time with my recommendations. I have no one to recommend it to. Just myself. No. Like if you got Netflix, you're just hanging around. It's not really for a full family, right? Because it's pretty R-rated.
Yeah.
But I'm just take me away. I'm choking over here. I don't know.
There you go.
Who I'd recommend it to.
I think I recommend to, if you like any particular people of the cast or just like the cast in general, I think you'll have a good enough time. It is under 2 hours, like just under, so it's not a huge time commitment. I think as far as the movies this weekend, like what you got, this Space Jam, Escape Room, I think you got to look at like depending on what you like. But yeah, if you're looking for an action movie, if you even like Fast and the Furious, and you're like, hey, I just need some sort of action, it has there's some fun stylized moments. There's some fun moments with acting and characters and whatnot. There's some drama in there as well. So I think it's something where if you watch first half an hour and you like that, then you'll be in it. If you like the cast, you'll be in it. But if you've seen this genre and you've watched the kind of hitman, something happens to them and things go awry, I don't think there's anything too new there. I think, like I said, there's some fun stylized and cinematography stuff at times, but nothing. I don't think it like transcends the genre. Just kind of like, if you want an action movie or you like the hitman goes rogue storyline, then this is like another addition to that, and you can have a good time. So
that's beautiful. That's exactly what I should have said.
Yeah, I don't know if it's beautiful, but it's something.
Escape Room 2 is what Taylor's most anticipated movie was. As soon as you said, I guarantee you, if you text him, that's what it is.
Oh yeah, well I feel bad because he thought I'd seen that. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna see that right now. And then he canceled his ticket, so I feel bad. I'm gonna be mad though, Kirklin, if I watch Escape Room 2 and enjoyed it more than this. I'll be like, what the hell? So, but no, those movies are. The first one was fine. It was just trying to be soft. But maybe we'll review that at some point. Right now, we're going to get into spoilers. So if you've seen the movie, you can keep watching or keep listening, and we'll be right here. If not, go check it out, come back, and I'll be sitting there waiting for you. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So where do you want to start off? Because there's no more tiptoeing, no more anything like that.
Yeah. So I'll just go back to what I was saying about Karen Gillan and her character, Sam. I felt like... And again, I was comparing it to Nebula in the MCU. I feel like in later MCU phases, or where we are currently, I guess, with Nebula, like she seems like a lot more of a killer that's coming back into like a humanized persona, where I feel like this character of Sam, I guess we get her like with the relationship with the little girl, Emily, I think was her name. But like for the most part, I felt like she was just reminding me of like early Nebula, where she's just like kicking ass and just being a badass. And like she had like a few little one-liners, something to just, I don't know, like I felt like she was even talking in like a very like
Yeah,
killer
grunty
type
way.
tone. Yeah, grunty and like not too many words. So I feel like as soon as that was going on, and again that was only like 15 minutes into the movie that she was like already just acting that way, I felt like, okay, I kind of know what this movie's going to be like. It's going to be just following like the hitman killer type thing. And I feel like because I had that right away, I wasn't like expecting her character to like evolve too much.
Mhm.
So I think I
I
just had like low expectations for like what her
yeah.
character was going to be as soon as the movie started.
See, and for me, it wasn't that I was expecting her to evolve too much because, like, okay, the incident is she has to go get this money back from the firm. We'll get into that, but it has to go get this money back from the firm. Finds out this guy has a kid, doesn't want to go through with it, and then it's a whole bunch of events as far as she doesn't want to kill this kid. She's protecting the kid. I wasn't expecting much. I'm like, okay, that's gonna be the movie. It's gonna be this high action point A to point B. Can we save this child? So that was fun. I guess I was just I felt like sometimes she played it very seriously, and that's where I think the movie was kind of caught because sometimes the movie is very serious, but then other times, and I very much like Kill Bill, right? Because that's serious, that comedy. But I think, at least myself, I've stressed that before, where the drama and serious or the drama and comedy going back and forth, you have to find that right wavelength, and that's where it's something like lots of people compare this to John Wick, and I do get that, but I think one of my differences is it's serious, but the whole time Keanu's kind of playing this like very like I feel over the top action hero at times. Like he is serious, but he's playing with that Keanu swagger, right? That like
Yeah.
Nick Cage, like okay, this is Keanu. But then if you have something that is a very serious movie, then it's like okay, we're doing that. So I wish that's the problem. Like I think where it stuck out for me was the most was like I said, with the boneheads, that whole scene was like, okay, we're getting. It did remind me of like an anime or something like that. We're getting like very comedic. Like it's a fight, but there's no stakes. Like there's stakes, but it's very like these guys are nonchalant. Like there's that biting joke and stuff like that. Where the setup's good, and she has the taped hands, and I felt like that's the most where she was not acting goofy or anything, but very loose, very like okay, like we're having some fun here. But then it'd be like, oh, mom, where have you been for all these years? And then they have this
Yeah.
serious conversation about like you left me and stuff. They kind of go back and forth, like I said. And I don't think it is flawless. So that's where I wish that maybe she was just a bit more of a character because I don't think she was bad in this movie. I just wish she like maybe hammed it up a little more. Just I don't know. It just like I said, it felt like she kind of like the movie was caught in between. I know she can be great. Like
Yeah.
you said, she's evolved with Nebula. I think in Jumanji she's really good there. So I think I just wanted a bit more shades if I didn't need too much writing because I think they wrote her enough. They stressed why she would save the girl because of her relationship with the mom. The stuff with Lena Headey was good, but we've kind of seen this before. Like it's strange. Like we've had the conversation they've had. We've seen that a bunch before. And when she's like, we'll get into it, but when she's like, yeah, and I killed this guy, and I know you wouldn't be safe, so I left you with whatever that Ethan or Nathan. But it's also like, yeah, but he's also like the runner of all these hitmans and everything like that. So it's a weird jump to. But yeah, that's where I wish that I think she was like the movie where she was kind of caught with sometimes being too serious, but then trying to be funny. And I wish it was one way or the other. And I wish she actually leaned more to like the funny stuff because The Bride does that where she is serious, but there's lots of jokes made and stuff like that. So I wish she was a bit more, I guess, cartoony.
Yeah, I agree with you because I felt like with The Bride, she was really serious, and then like when something would happen like to her, she would like react in like a kind of a comedic way, not like
Yeah.
it was like just like for the movie, but like I felt like for her, anytime something reacted to her, she was just always just like that like monotone type like serious killer type individual where because yeah, like there was a lot of comedy thrown in this movie, but I felt like it was just around Sam. It wasn't like
Mhm.
Sam herself. And yeah, like I think I would have appreciated it more if she was like that because again, like getting back to like early Nebula, I feel like early Nebula never like cracks jokes or anything. Whereas like when she's with Tony in Endgame, like they're starting to like have like more human relationships. She's like starting to get humor. Where I felt like in this movie, Sam is just so like the one note the entire time, and
Yeah.
which is interesting because like even I felt like the little girl Emily was like comedic at points where like that would have been like the best relationship that Sam had in the movie, but she was still just like the same. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's really
let's
all I
talk
had to
about
say.
yeah. Let's talk about some stuff you liked or positive scenes or stuff like that. Because I do have positives too, so I don't want to seem like I'm
Yeah,
just
so
shitting on the parade or anything.
so right away as soon as the movie started, it was just like I can't I I don't think it was black and white, but it was just like a dark room with the dude just bleeding out, and then she just
Mhm.
like shoots him, turns around, and her outfits in this movie were just fucking badass too. I loved all of her outfits in this movie. But she's like looking out at the door, and then the light coming in like on her eyes. I'm like, okay, this is so badass. I'm totally in on this. So I felt like she was used as just such a good like action hero in this movie.
Yeah.
Even though like when she talked, it wasn't anything too impressive, but it just like on screen, I thought she was just a really, really badass character that was just a super hitman basically, and she was just so much fun to watch. So all of like the fight scenes, I thought the choreography was really good. We just like watched Loki, go check out our reviews for that, but like I felt like the choreography, at least in the fight scenes, was like lacking in that show. So to get some in this one, I thought this was just like stand out in comparison to that. And yeah, like I just thought all the fight scenes were clever. Like they didn't seem like they were just copying like the same like classic moves. Like there's a lot of like comedic like moments that happened in the fight scenes. And
yeah, the bowling one was fun because the bowling one at first started like a little wonky, but then as it went on, like you had the suitcase incorporate with her, slam the guy's finger, and when she just like whips that ball at the guy as he was running, that was such a good. And this movie has like a lot of fun little moments like that, and that's where that's where I kind of got the most enjoyment out of it. Other than like I said, I'll talk about the first 15 minutes, but yeah, that scene was pretty good. And then obviously for me, I talked about it in the non-spoilers when I was saying like the big last second action piece. The library is like the highlight of the movie. That scene, like everything from when that Russian family or whatever, the Russian bad guys show up and they're gonna like hold ground, everything like that. I think that was the time where it was mixing well, where there was serious stakes, but then there was comedy all over and everything like that, and it was working. It just, like I said, that flowed the best to me, and it was just this fun idea of the multiple rooms going on that they're hiding in, all the books with different like, oh, this is guns, this is ammo,
I love
is a
the
knife.
books.
Like, yeah, the books and the whole, I think they did a good job as far as world building. That's where, like I said, early on in the end, it felt like, okay, they want this to maybe be a franchise or sequelized, because the firm right away set up like, okay, you got your big bad guy organization, and then this cool library thing, like that sets up the rules too of like when she's going there and talking about like what books she needs or all this stuff, and they're like hinting around and everything like that. Really fun like wordplay going on and everything. And like I said, I cannot pronounce her name, Carlo, Joina, or Gina. I can't remember. Kirklin's gonna look it up and know because he's actually a well-educated human being. But
Carla Gugino.
Gugino, yeah, I'll mess it up again. But she is fantastic. I've loved her since Spy Kids. Like and then she was in Watchmen, and then one of the greatest shows on TV right now, The Haunting of, whether it's Hill House or Bly Manor. So I think she delivered that character really well. I think Michelle Yeoh, I think that's how you say her name. I liked her, but I want a little bit more. Angela Bassett plays Angela Bassett in this. She plays like the same role she does all the time, just like a hard bitch you don't want to fuck with and everything like that. And Lita Headey was like, I hate to say it, but I think she was like the most flat out of them all, because it was just her relationship was just with her daughter. And we'll get more back in that anyways. But back to the scene. Lots of fun action set pieces going on in the middle of that. Lots of clever kind of attacks. Like at one point when they just open up one of the books and has a gold bar, like it just felt like a fun kind of like amusement park ride, or something like that, or like an escape room where all the stuff's going on. No, sorry, Taylor, we didn't see escape room, but all these like, oh look, you have this, and like Michelle Yeoh, and she just like hangs that guy with the chain and stuff, and then you get the like turret out of the van. It was just one thing after another, and I think it's much like Tomorrow. I think you could add a little bit on, but I think that was the prime action set piece to end on, because I liked that restaurant scene, but it didn't feel that clever as far as they're like, oh, how are we gonna get out of there? And they just dress up waitresses. It's like, okay, like that's you may as well just shown up. Like you didn't have to dress as a waitress. And then the slow-mo scene actually just didn't work for me. It just didn't. It went on too long. It didn't feel like, out of all the fight scenes, that felt like the most kind of basic one, but that library one, because it was so good to me, was high in the movie. They should have ended kind of around that moment, because that was a highlight and had lots of fun going on there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Just like in regards to where the movie ended, I totally thought it was gonna end after that library scene for sure. Especially like this being like a Netflix movie, I feel like you're just almost guaranteed to get a sequel. I mean, especially if you have a cast like this, I feel like it's bound to like generate enough numbers where people are going to be just wanting to see expansion on it, because it is just like one of those movies that you can just pump out sequels, like John Wick's. Like it's just him kicking ass and just like
Yeah.
get in some more fight choreographers. Like it's just gonna be a fun movie. And so in that regards, I thought it was gonna end with them like having to go face the firm, and it's like, all right, let's do this, and then roll credits or something, you know. And it's like just something like that, because it was definitely like the climax of the movie. And then since we had that diner scene afterwards, I thought like the dialogue moment, that was probably like the best one, honestly, in the entire the movie, for me personally, because I felt like every other moment before that was just getting us from one point to the other so we can just kick some more ass. Whereas this one, like, we're seeing Karen Gillan like get emotional, like she was, you know, like showing her chops that she can pull off like these emotional scenes. And I was really impressed by that. And I thought overall like the dialogue was good, but I don't know where you would have placed that either if you ended the movie like at the library, because I feel like part of me still wants to have that moment. But when like the ambush comes and it's like, why did they bring them there in the first place? Because there's no guns in the diner. Oh, well, guess what? We get guns in the diner. It's like cheat codes, you know? So I totally agree with you right there, where it's just like, eh. And then the slow-mo scene afterwards, I feel like it just, like, it was the most basic, I feel like, what you said. But also, I feel like since we just had an awesome action set piece at the library, it was just so much lesser, like even more.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, because the whole thing is, so like they're in the middle of the fight of the library, a bunch of cool stuff's going on. Like when he gets those two guns that have like the knives on, I was like, okay, this is fun. They like kept her old guns. So, like that's where I was getting like really like gimmicky in a good way, and that's what I was enjoying. But so like in my opinion, the movie goes, the library happens, and then Emily gets stolen, and then they meet at the diner to get her back. And then they do this weird, which I did not like it at all, like the actual ending thing with Paul Giamatti with the Girl Guide cookies, because it just felt like it was very convoluted and just like, I know you got a sniper on, but you're still gonna put this little girl at risk again. Like, what happens if you shoot him?
Like
but
in the
rest,
crosshair,
yeah. But then, like, what if the rest of our guards like, okay, you shot Paul Giamatti, but we're gonna get this girl and kill? Like, I just feel like where the movie ended, I was waiting for, because that's what I was waiting for. Is like, okay, what is the very last, 30 seconds of this movie? It'll justify why we went on this long. But really, it was just, it ends with them driving away. You easily could have had them destroy all those people at the library, and then they drive off. And then, because clearly I would imagine if we get a sequel, it's going to be about the firm going after her, right? So you don't need her phoning and be like, you better make sure it goes away, blah, blah, all this stuff. Just have them on the run. So then the story is, oh, they got away from the firm. But then if you make a sequel, it's like, oh, but no, you didn't. This was very like convoluted, like, you got to make sure we're not, you're not coming here. But Paul Giamatti has to be like, you're not going to get away with this. It's just like, I felt like the 15 minutes didn't really achieve much. It didn't, like, the action scene wasn't cooler. It wasn't more clever than anything happening in the library. The stuff of Paul Giamatti is stuff that already we would assume that, okay, the firm will come after her. They may say they're not, but it's just, and I guess, like, sure, if this is a one-off, they're saying, oh yeah, the firm didn't come after her. But I still think like them escaping from the library and like driving off to nowhere, I could headcanon of like, oh, well, they escaped. They went to another country and they got away with it. So it just felt like it felt like a weird epilogue that was not needed. That's my point.
Yeah. I feel like they had like a bunch of different ending ideas, and they're like, okay, let's just try and fit them all in there, because I agree with you, like that, like we were just saying how it probably should have ended at the library scene, and then even after the diner scene with like all the slow-mo stuff said and done, we have that like Jason Bourne moment where she's got like the sniper on him. And yeah, I agree with you. I felt like it was probably like 15, even more probably minutes, like too long. And it was still like under 2 hours, but I still think that like the ending could have been cleaner. And because like I said, like I felt like this movie knew what it was doing, where it was just like action, fun, like beautiful, like like a lot of the fight scenes, I felt like it was like a Mortal Kombat like arena. Like it was just so beautiful, like background, and it was just like awesome going with like the ass kicking. So like I felt like in that sense, like it knew what it was doing, where it was just like a fun movie to watch. And then at the end you get these like weird trying to be like super heartfelt or something like that. And I don't think it really needed that. It was just, have Sam and Emily and like the master and apprentice. I love that line when they said that, by the way.
Yeah. And I think that another thing to give it credit was that was a good hook. Like that's a problem. Like that's where I kind of feel this way. I like something, but then the execution's kind of, not there for me, where I feel like they could have got a little bit more into. I like the way of like, okay, Sam killed her dad and she's going to reveal that and everything like that. But even then when they're talking about Lena Headey, she's like, oh, she's smart enough, she's going to figure it out. But they didn't let the little girl figure that out. Like she was told it. So I thought, okay, that was a strange choice. But then I felt like we didn't get much reaction from the girl because they have to shush her away because like the bad guys are coming, right? So they hide her in the van. And then the next time Sam and Emily have a scene about it, and I agree that Emily should feel this way eventually if she was a smart kid and thinks about it, but just like, oh yeah, I know you didn't do that. You didn't mean to do that. It was the guys that hired you. And not the fact that I didn't want there to be drama, but it just felt like it was dealt with so quick for something that was being set up as like going to be a really big issue, right? But it really wasn't. It was just like a fleeting moment and stuff. So I think they could have done a little bit more there. But I liked that idea of, hey, I killed this girl's father and I'm trying to look after her, and I like it's kind of like her penance, right? Again, too, I'd love to know as far as the whole turning point in this mission is like, okay, this little girl's been kidnapped and she, like, with the trauma she's had, doesn't want this little girl to be alone. But it's just like, I definitely get it in a hero story, but at the same time with these, for like John Wick, you haven't seen them, but it's pretty easy as far as like, okay, they kill his dog. That makes sense why he's going to go and kill these people. I imagine she's probably made a lot of kids fosters, or like orphans and stuff like that. So I think I wanted like that was really quick when the first 50 minutes I like the flashback, getting to know Nathan a little bit, but then she's on this mission, she hears about a kid, and then right when she hears about a kid, boom, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I've switched over. But like I said, I feel like she's definitely orphaned a few kids. So maybe just a little more time with that. I don't know, but because like you said, they know what they're doing. They're trying to go all action and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know how I felt on all that. I would almost need me to either rewatch it again or sit on a little bit longer. Because like you said, I get you want the grip it and rip it thing, but at the same time, it was a very sudden choice. But that's kind of happens in all these movies. So I don't know if I have any leg to stand on there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Don't really have much else to add on that. Where else do you want to go?
I wanted to talk about the bonehead scenes.
Yes.
What did you feel of those? And then that's another praise I'd give that was a very fun action scene where she loses her arms and she's trying to. That scene reminded me. I'm not sure, and this is where I maybe again want it to be a bit more. But have you ever seen the Crank movies with Jason Statham?
Oh yeah, those are so fun.
That's what that arm scene reminded me of. Like, oh, it's just gonna get crazy. We're gonna get super stuff, and there's comedic stuff throughout. But like the bonehead specifically, they were very characterized of each other, but I had a good time with that scene as far as like the taping of the whatever, like the doctor panels or sheets and everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. I have like a list of just like settings that I loved in this movie because I just thought like the cinematography was so well done and a lot of the sets were just so beautiful. There was like just great like color palettes and stuff that they went with and a lot of neon lights. So the hospital was definitely one that I was shouting out just because I loved like the white and green hallways and I felt like they really tried to like show as much as the hallway as they could and it just looked so gorgeous. And yeah, getting to like when she loses like because what like her both of her arms are going numb. Yeah. So then she gets the little girl to like help her just get geared up and it honestly like part of me was like thinking of what's the movie? It's like the one where the girl gets like she's like no legs, so they put like a machine gun in her leg. It's just like such a ridiculous
Planet Terror.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It like reminds me of Death Proof or something. Yeah. And it reminded me of something like that where it's just okay, let's just do this, and then our killer is just gonna make it work. And I loved it though. Especially like when she shoots, or Karen Gillan like goes down into the hallway in the chair with all like her armor, I guess you'd call it, her makeshift armor, and like the boneheads are all like in their casts and just like limping their way down the hallway. And then when they finally get to shooting, like the one guy just like has his leg as almost like a bipod, and that whole like sequence, I felt like I was just laughing, like the laughing gas, like that humor, it was actually making me laugh there. I felt like it wasn't working until like those three just like the further it was getting into the sequence of them just like giggling and just being all broken, but like getting ready to go fight again, like it just worked for me. So I I loved all that stuff. And then you get the bonehead death.
Yeah, that was good because I kind of had it like you see the tooth on the desk and you're like, okay, something's gonna happen with that tooth. But I was just wondering as like how heavy it was, but then we found out how heavy it was because it just completely crushed that guy. And yeah, and I do like he was only in a little bit, but I like this where we stress like Paul Giamatti's like level of things are getting worse, because like at first he's like, well, I'll just go get her, but no knives, no guns. And then he didn't want to do it, but all these firm guys were just sitting there watching him like, what you gonna say, what you gonna say? Because he's like, oh, are we allowed to do anything wrong? He's like, yeah, whatever it takes. So that was good for like the little stuff he was in there. I almost wish we got a scene with somehow, maybe this would be safe for a sequel, but with Lena Headey and Paul Giamatti, because that was clearly like a relationship that was built up. And I really liked that opening of like she's on her mission, like you talked about, which was a good opening. She gets a call to go meet him at the diner. And then when she sits there, she has the entire flashback of her mom. She has to leave and all this stuff. Later on, when they reveal the reason she left, I thought was good as far as like, okay, killed the dad. She shot her. Again, I don't know why. I still feel like she was safer to be with Lena Headey. Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't buy that of like, oh, you were safer without me. It's like, was she though? Like, she ended up being a hit person, and like you seem pretty capable too. Like, she hid for what, like 15 or whatever, 10 years. So it's like, I think she did a good job, but I like that setup. And then when they get back to the diner, it's the present day and they reveal the mission. But I liked Paul Giamatti's stakes of like kind of constantly like, trying to protect her, but didn't go that well. And that, if there's a sequel, could pose for some interesting situations and everything. But I liked that. I liked all the lead up and everything. Even when she shot the dad, it was like, okay, this is a little bit different. The doctor character, I've seen in many things. He was another character as well. And I wasn't sure which way. Yeah, I wasn't sure which way he was going to be going either, when he was going to go sticker or stuff like that. I thought, okay, is this that moment where he does sticker? Is this the moment where he goes like, oh, hey, they really want to do this, but I have them like pinned down, go get them? But no, he just stuck her, and she was numb as a dead fish. So
yeah, I had the exact same thought process when he was coming into the room, because he doesn't like show it right away, and he like genuinely seems concerned, like, oh, it's gonna get infected, and then brings back that line of, oh, don't you know you're gonna lose your arm that way? Like the little girl just told her like moments before that. And then when he like went to stab her, I thought for some reason she was just gonna like counter it, but I'm actually happy the way it went, because like we just said, like I quite enjoyed her having like the flaccid arms, lack of a better term. And for you're talking about the beginning, I guess, like the diner scene. I personally thought that flashback went a little bit too long. I felt like all we really needed to know was like this moment and this place is like important to her. I love like the importance of the milkshake. Going into the movie, I thought it was just gonna be like a fun name for a movie, but I'm glad it had actually some meaning, and that little moment. And that was also Siri, the actress that plays Siri in the Netflix Witcher series that played young Sam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were about to try and tell me like Lena she played Cersei. I was like, don't even. I know, everyone knows Kirklin. Don't try to be like, I got this fun trivia fact for you. Did you know? Yeah, I know. No, I didn't know. That's awesome. That's cool. That very much like Disney and Warner Brothers. When you're in the Netflix family, you just pop up in a lot of stuff. So
totally,
that's awesome.
On that same topic too, I've noticed in this one, oh geez, I forget what they were watching now, but even in other Netflix like original shows, in the movie themselves, they have like the characters watching another like Netflix type show or something. Yes. I like that, because it's just, again, it's like the Easter eggs with Disney, where they have like that one ball that's just like reoccurring in all the movies. So it's fun just being in this little movie universe type thing that they've created for Netflix. But just getting back to that diner stuff, I don't know, I just felt like it went on a little bit too long, but overall, I think I agree with you on Lena Headey.
I don't know.
Lena
it's
Headey.
So funny because
it sounds better with Headey.
I've watched this like this thing's called a Schmodown. It's a movie trivia league, and there was like a big controversial thing because the guy like spelt her name wrong, but like said it a certain way. So ever since then, I've been fucked up like how you say it, because it was like a big debate of it, like, oh, it's this way, but I think it's Headey, Lena Headey, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, so her, I felt like I was wanting a little bit more, just because I know what she can do from Game of Thrones, but overall, it was still fun to see her as this like the mom of the badass, so like clearly this badass got that badass genes from someone. So I thought like especially in the library, I guess we get more of like her being a badass and showing off, like you mentioned, like the two guns with the knives. Like I feel like I loved her in the action sense, but I think there could have been more of a character stuff.
Well, I think you said it perfectly as far as like I know what she can do, and I don't think any of that was on display here. Like I think it was a serviceable performance. I don't think it was like, oh yeah, she was bad. It's not that. It's just that I feel like this character could have been played by pretty much anybody, you know, and that's why even with her, I wish they would have leaned into being a bit more like wild or kooky. Or like maybe that's part of the reason why she did leave her. Because even in the flashback, she seems pretty well put together, like a put together mom. It wasn't this like she was nervous about being a mom. It's literally just, okay, I left you because I thought you were in danger. But every time we meet her, she's like pretty quiet, just kind of to herself, you know, few dialogue here and there, mostly with the daughter. But like, yeah, it just, especially too when you do that thing in movies, as far as like, oh, it's you're related to that person. Oh, who's your mom? Like when they make someone very important, but we haven't met them. When you meet them, they have to have like a real presence, right? And that's the annoying thing where Alita Headey can bring that presence, but just again, I think kind of like same stuff with Karen Gillan. I think some of the problems I have was maybe not her performance, just like how they either directed them or how they wrote that character was like, okay, I'll play it this way. Where I think something, like I said, I'm not asking her to be crazy, but just something a bit more of substance. Because, like I said earlier, she's pretty flat. Out of all the characters, like even the little girl, I feel like has more personality than her. Lean, he's just kind of playing like, oh, you're the abandoned mom trope. You know, it's like, okay, that's fine. It's cool. You got actors in here. Maybe there's more room in a sequel. But as far as this movie, didn't really come away like thinking, wow, I'm so glad Lena Headey was in this. You know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Just like how you mentioned, since we have so many like big cast members in this movie, like I felt like there is a lot of missed potential for just some like a lot of good moments on screen.
Well, and that's why I wonder, and that's why I think for me, last 15 minutes, and I think some of that with the movie is a lot of them banking on setting it more, and that is a problem. Again, people would throw the MCU in my face, but I feel like comic book movies are in this little world of a moment because like their source material is that it's always okay, we do a story, then what's next, right? Where movies like I don't think you ever watched it, but the Old Guard on Netflix, similar thing in my opinion, where it's just like it was big set for a sequel. Hemsworth with Extraction, not too bad, but I think there is a lot of these movies that are non-IPs that are they try right out of the gate to set up a sequel, and I get that's what Hollywood is, but I think there's still a way of making it very singularly, and you can do more ventures, and I think that's where some of these ladies suffered as far as like, oh, well, like Michelle Yeoh's character, same thing. Like, I think they hinted that she had a romance with the librarian, right? That's what they were going for, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and but I feel like her as a character, almost similar to Lena Headey, that I think she had that fun moment where she choked the guy, she lost her eye, but nothing really too standoutish for me. So other than like they were a part of this big action set piece. But again, if you do more, then okay, you got some good actors in there.
Yeah, I thought the sisters kind of each had their moment to like show what they could do. Yeah. Maybe other than Anna May, I feel like the main one didn't really get a moment. She was just like the outspoken leader, I guess, of the crew. But like I felt like with Madeline, I think that was her name, the librarian chick, she had the moment when she like faced off with that one dude. It was like a big one-on-one, try to defend Emily, but unfortunately like perished. You just
and
mentioned
the turret too.
Oh, and the turret, yeah, that was badass scene.
And I feel like it's funny because I feel like she's like lower on the tier than, but like I said, even that moment when we first met her about discussing the guns in the books, I feel like just from like a fun character moment that was really clever. And she's an actress, like she's so talented, like she pulls off that type of performance really well. She's done that before, but man, she's so good. I'm sad we don't live in a parallel universe where Zack Snyder always said like that's who he envisioned casting as like Catwoman opposite of Ben Affleck. And it's like, man, that would have been great to see. You know, she would have been such a fantastic Selena Kyle. So, but that's, I mean, like she had action set pieces, but she also had those little character moments. And even though, like with Emily in the van, like it's gonna get loud now and stuff. And I love that when she gets shot, when she comes into the van, she like pulls her little like flannel over it, so you could, like she's like trying so hard to like protect this child. So it sucks that the character I like the most out of the whole movie is gone, but you know, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like all the little details, I thought she just killed, and it just goes to show how good she is as an actress. I feel like I haven't really seen her in anything other than Spy Kids. I got her.
Watchmen,
man. Right?
Watchmen. Yeah. I don't know.
What was that last one?
Well, Haunting on Hill House. You gotta. She's in the second one, like a little bit. That's not really her season, but the first one, oh man, she is a star in that one, and it's so good. Like I said, I'm not sure how you and Shay are. I know you're finding scary, so I don't know how she is, but
she's not, but she
yeah. But the thing is, it's about family and love as well, so it's not just
there
all
you go.
scares.
I'll pitch that.
it is very fucking scary. Not gonna lie.
It's funny you're just talking about her being in Zack Snyder's. She's apparently the voice of the ship in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So maybe
funny.
that's like him, wanting to have her in his movie. So then they did that route. That's actually funny. But yeah, like all those little details, even just like when she was putting on a brave face, like you said, for Emily in that moment, she just seems so motherly. And whether it was like to Sam or to Emily, I thought she just killed that. And I was sad and surprised, honestly, that she was dying. I thought for sure all the sisters were going to make it out, just because that's, again, I thought this was just a movie that appears to have high stakes, but not really, because it's just a fun action movie. It's like, John Wick, he's not gonna fucking die. There's gonna be John Wick 9. Like, there's no way that he's not. There's no way that he's not gonna walk out of these. So I kind of had that expectation. So when she did die, like I said, I was just sad because I really liked her and surprised. Michelle Yeoh, whatever it is.
I think it's Yao because it's Yeoh. So yeah, I'm not sure. She's in Shang-Chi coming up, so that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, and I really, really like her as an actress. I thought she was phenomenal in Crazy Rich Asians. Crazy. Oh my gosh. Crazy Rich Asians. She's a great actress. And like you mentioned, kind of like a running theme, I felt like they just didn't use her enough because like without just beating the dead horse over here, I just felt like there was just some missed potential on these great actors and actresses that they had.
Like if you're for sure gonna have it at like whatever an hour and 54 minutes, I would rather them use those last 15 minutes and spread out more in the movie of them and the sisters, like even more backstory to them and Lena Headey. But they're just kind of like standoff, like where you've been for 10 years. Like there's not too much there. So if I could have used some of that time with the rest of the females, then great.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you.
Do you have anything else? I think I've hit all the points on my notes as far as everything. We've talked about that. We've touched upon that. So
yeah, I'll shout out my beautiful just like scene or like settings, I guess, that we went to. I shouted out the bowling alley. That was just so fun. It again, like with the neon lights, there was a few like awesome neon signs that they had in this movie, and it felt so like cyberpunky or Blade Runner-esque, like something like that. And I love that. Again, I feel like it ties into just a badass like assassin type character. So that was really fun. So yeah, the hospital, I said the garage was really, really fun too. When they had Emily like driving the car, because again, Sam's arms were just dead. That was such a fun moment, especially they're like doing cat and mouse, and then they're like hiding around with the like just parking lot. Like it was just a really, really fun scene, I thought.
The way that guy got decapitated, I was not prepared for. I was not thinking that was coming. So
and like in that moment, Sam has Emily like close. It's so weird. It's just like I feel like I keep mixing their names up, especially because I keep throwing out Karen Gillan and like their actual names. But anyways, Sam tells Emily to like close her eyes, and then they're reversing. And I liked that little step that they did a couple times in the movie. We just mentioned Madeline like did the same thing, like cover your ears, like play the music. Like they're just very like motherly towards Emily, and I did like that they had that going throughout the movie. But going back to the scenes, the office with Nathan, that was his name, right?
Yeah.
When he's talking to like the boneheads originally, and like, okay, don't bring any guns, and like the humor there that kind of got me as well when they kept standing up, and then he just like stopped them, and then like kept standing up and stopping them again. But then the camera like follows them out the door, and then like right before or as soon as they exit, rather, like a female comes in, tells him that there's like the firm wants to see them or whatever, and then I think the camera like zooms in on him and then zooms back out and follows her out, and then like immediately like they're just there, and then they all come in. I just thought it was a fun like transition because it felt like just one ongoing scene, and I really liked it. It didn't feel like it was cutting at all. It felt really smooth, and I just like the aesthetic of what his office was. It just very like crime syndicate, like just like in a sky
whatever the hell they're called, skyscraper tower.
Have you ever seen a movie? Because this is what I was wanting it to be more like, and it didn't end up that way. But have you ever seen a movie called The Seven Psychopaths?
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I'm pretty sure. When did that come out? Like
before podcast, like 2013, 14, probably.
Oh, was it before podcast? Okay, because for
so,
some reason I thought like in the early days, like Dylan's Basement days, we like, or maybe you were like talking about the movie or something, and then we pulled up a trailer, and I remember like
I think you'd like it.
I remember like talking and seeing the trailer. I thought it was in Dylan's basement, so good throwback to the early days of the
2012. So yeah,
2012. So yeah, definitely
3 years before the podcast. Yeah, no, it just reminds me. It's like the way you talk about like the aesthetic of just The Office and whatnot. Like that movie has a lot of that. So if you ever see it on Netflix or something, put it on your queue or something because it has that type of Kill Bill, Tarantino, like this sort of vibe.
That's
and
my
stuff,
type of movie.
yeah, exactly.
And then like the other one I was gonna shout out was just like the hotel. When Emily shoots Sam's dad and like she's leaving and then I think she just has like a flashback to the diner and then she's like, fuck, okay, I actually gotta, my moral compass is coming in here. And then she helps him out, and it's just like, again, like the red neon lights, it's just like that's like pretty much the only lighting there, so it's just like a red like film, it seems like, and it was just I loved all that aesthetic was just chef's kiss for me. I loved it. So
yeah, the red neon was cool.
And then just going again with design, I thought pretty much all the costume design was really, really cool. I guess like specifically for Sam, I loved like in the beginning that hat that she had, especially when she was at the hotel and she killed Sam's dad. It was just like because I felt like it hid her identity, but at the same time you can still see her face. It was just very like LA Noir-esque or something, like with the it was just really, really fun. And then I loved like her jacket that she had pretty much throughout the whole movie. That was just really, really fun as well.
Yeah, you want me to wear this? And she like the gutter shirt or whatever it is. I like those little horror movie icon bad guys we got for a little while. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. Oh yeah, like so. Obviously, I really like this movie. I am definitely going to rewatch it a few times because there was just so many like fun details that were in the movie. One or two that I actually caught that I'm sure I just missed tons. But the first one was the bonehead. That was pretty self-explanatory. And then the other one was when she's chasing down the villains that like caught Emily originally. And then they do that like that hostage transfer with like 2 carts. And the main guy, he's like wearing a Dracula mask, and I loved how she ended up killing him with like a wooden stake through the heart. Like that was just that was a fun detail.
That was fun.
So, and again, like I usually miss all those types of Easter eggy things, but I caught those too, so I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones, and I love when they throw those in there, and I love when they don't like hit you over the head with it, like, hey dummy, this is it. I guess they kind of did that with the bonehead one. But I like when they're in there and they don't really like touch upon them, but they're just there for if you're really looking for it. So and then the other scene I was gonna shout out was at the very, very end, the scene that we both didn't really like, the Girl Guide moment. I loved how Emily was holding the book and it was Little Women. Shouts out to Florence Pugh.
Yeah, there you go.
And then the other scene I had that I really loved was like the chase when they were just going through. Lena Headey was just like bringing them, basically through like an escape room, and then they ended up at the library. But just that whole like just following them through all like the little secret tunnels and stuff. I just thought that was really, really fun. And at the end of that scene, I believe like all the henchmen like get a text or something like all at the same time, and that was just really fun because I felt like they just made it pretty clear that these are just like goon type henchmen, like pretty much a video game version. Like there's only like maybe 3 models, but just like 1,000 of them because they just like recopied. And I loved how they just like all like quickly responded, like they are at like the firm's beck and call no matter what. So I just love that little quick moment because it was just fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some fun stuff like that in the middle of
it. That's all I had actually in my notes. So
well, there you go. I'll go first. I will give this.
Oh.
I think
Sounds low.
It's lower than you probably want to be. I think I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It might sound low, but it just because I've always said a 7 is like, am I gonna be fully watching again? I don't know. I might watch it again when we get close to see. Go okay, brush to this again. It's also like a movie that I feel like you'd put on and tune in and out, but still. I had a lot left to be desired for, but I don't think it's a bad movie. I enjoy my time with it, but I wasn't like, okay, if there is a sequel, I will watch it. But if there isn't, I wouldn't be like, damn, like I can't wait to get back in the world. I was like, okay, there's definitely gonna be some potential for more. But as far as this film alone, I think the cast was lots of fun. There's some good action set pieces. I think for me, there's just a few missed opportunities there. And maybe, like I said, they're kind of caught in between what they want. But yeah, a 6 out of 10 for me. But yeah, I made sure I went first because I feel like it'll be higher. So always try to end on a higher note,
Absolutely. So yeah, like I've said in the past, usually especially like when I just finished the movie today, there's like recency bias there, but I always find when we go through reviews, my score gets kind of like, filtered and like gets adjusted to the right amount. So definitely going into it, it was pretty high. I rated Black Widow 8.5, and I definitely didn't like as much as that. So I knew that was like my sky limit. Like can't go to there. It has to be lower. And then just dissecting certain moments and really analyzing like a lot of character stuff that I feel like there's some missed opportunities there. Brings me down to, I think I'm actually gonna stick with 7.5. Honestly, I think 7 is like probably the more reasonable one, but since it just reminded me so much of like those types of like Kill Bill or even just like The Matrix at certain moments without like the deep moments of the Matrix, like, oh, what is reality? Like all like the philosophical moments. I felt like just the action stuff, like that was really fun, and the cast was great, and those just like the settings were just so good. I love like the set design, and a lot of just the color palettes were they're so beautiful to me. I was taking it in, so I really loved all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about in the film. Like, there's just certain things you look for in a film or a genre or whatnot. Like, well, look at Taylor and some of the stuff he likes, right? Like if it's all about ships and space battles, that's a big like Rogue One. For me, I go like, oh, that's not for me. And it's the same thing for me with like Fear Street, where like I'm sure there's lots of people out there, but I imagine there's not too many people that have like Fear Street as like their movie of the year. But it's like because there's all these things like, okay, I'd really want to see this, this, and this, and this, and then it does all those things. You're like, okay, yeah, and then. Same thing. It's like, well, if you have this problem or this doesn't make sense, you're like, oh, you're definitely right. But I just like it so much that it gets raised up a little. And that's what it sounds like a little bit. That maybe had some problems, but just the aesthetic and some of the style and everything. Yeah, that's the best part, So totally. We'll see. No, I was just looking while you were talking like the sequel. Nothing more had been other than they're just it's announced to be in development, and Karen Gillan wants Meryl Streep in it. So you never know. Meryl Streep did a Netflix movie this week, so. Hey, I'm surprised we talked about this movie for over an hour. Not that anything against the movie, it's just that, it was a more basic movie. So like, okay, what we can talk about? But, we found a way. We always find a way. So,
oh, yeah. Come on, the Pew Boys, you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong with the Pew Boys. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the next time you'll hear us on the airwaves will be after 9. That's going to be lots of fun. But thank you very much for checking out this review. When you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.
See you later.